Welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to go all in and connects them with professionals that can help them do it. I'm Will Ross, and I am here with my guest, Tiffany. Tiffany, what's your last name?
Baskett.
Tiffany Baskett. I would have probably butchered that, so I'm glad that I let her say it. Tiffany's with the Fitness Collective down in Calhoun off Camp Creek, and she has been kind enough to come up to the studio. Thank you for driving. I do appreciate it. To meet with us and share a little bit about her story and her journey. It's a unique one. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about it. I do know a little background, so I'll kind of lead her in, and then I'm going to just give the floor right to you.
Okay.
So essentially, I reached out about a podcast. We had a couple conversations, and Tiffany shared with me that there was a yoga studio in her neighborhood. I think you were going there. Was your mom going there too?
It was a bar studio, and they asked me to teach yoga there.
Okay, so you're teaching there, right? And so then the owner decides that they're going to leave.
Close.
They're closing. And you realize that this is a big thing for your community that you want to keep going.
Yeah.
And start us with, all right, they come in, they tell you, hey, look, we're no longer going to be operating. We don't need you to be a yoga teacher here anymore. What were the first thoughts? What was kind of the reaction? What was kind of the timeline to you saying, this is my step toward, I'm burning the ship, if you will, right?
Yeah, so November, we all got together for our holiday party, and that's when they said, okay, we're going to close, and we just can't afford to do this anymore. And my thoughts were, we can't have nothing in this neighborhood that's like this. So I said, well, what if I take over? And it just got to be a little convoluted. But by December 1st, I had been in touch with the landlord. We worked out a nice deal.
Okay.
So then the Fitness Collective was born. And it's totally separate from them, so it's not their business at all. And yeah, I opened with no money, no real plan, just like an idealistic thought of I want to bring healing modalities and movement to my community.
Okay. And so, like, who do you start having that conversation with to kind of get affirmation? Is this something that you did all on your own? Like, where is that kind of, I mean, I know for me, I normally want to bounce something off with somebody or I have a mentor, and I'm like, do you think it's a good idea? Or, I mean, how'd that go?
Well, it was me and God, really. So
Cool.
my dad was a restaurateur,
All right.
serial entrepreneur. I watched from the back end on that.
Okay.
And he was always like, if you feel it in your gut, go for it.
Yeah.
If something's not, can I say hell?
You can say whatever
Okay,
you
he's
want.
like, if something's not a hell yes, then it's a no.
Yeah.
And I was like, this didn't feel like a no, so I'm guessing it's a hell yes, and
Yeah.
I'll figure it out along the way.
I love it. I love it. So you just had that feeling in your heart.
Yeah.
It was there. It was set in. So what was that kind of, those first few steps like? I mean, that feeling of like, how are we going to figure this out? Did you bring in other folks to help you as far as with classes and different, what's the right way to, different types of exercise that maybe you guys would offer? Like you said bar, you said yoga. I know there's a lot more that I'm not familiar with or all, be all over the place. But how'd that go?
It was interesting. So I had been already in the fitness industry for about 15 years. I was teaching 30 classes at one point and a few other studios around town. So I kind of had a little arsenal of instructors that I knew. And I was like, hey, I'm opening this. I know you have a brand and you have a brand and you do this. Would you be interested in teaching at the studio? I don't really know how I'm going to pay you, but can we figure it out? And then we came together and figured it out. And then I made a call to someone that I work for with Booty Yoga.
Okay.
And I was like, this is what I'm planning to do. That was like, that conversation was very interesting because when I'm talking to somebody who's owned an international company, their thoughts are very grandiose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, scale it down to this one studio in Atlanta and give me some pointers of what kind of systems do I need because I'm not a systems person. I'm a creative.
Yep.
So that's been a challenge.
Big step. Was it, I know sometimes when somebody gets excited like that about like the future and this kind of growth, and I know that I like to do that for others and I build them up, and I don't always do that for my own self, if I can be quite frank. Sometimes I kind of go to that, what's the worst thing that can happen, and to really kind of get out of your own way. Sometimes it's great to have those conversations where somebody is talking so huge.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I know I need to dial it back, but at the same time, they're believing in you. They can see the vision, right? And so that's huge support just to kind of feel that, even if it's like, let's tone it down one step at a time, one step at a time. So you have the conversation with those folks. You get your systems figured out. To a degree.
So 4 years later, I'm still figuring systems out.
Okay.
But it is a lot more organized, and I do have a great staff now.
So, and you said in November, and so in my head I jumped to, was this a couple of months ago? But this has been 4 years that you've been doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So November of 2019. 2015. That's when they said December 1st was
Yeah.
when it officially was under me. January 7th, 2020, I opened the doors. March 15th, 2020, COVID.
So is everybody tracking the timeline here? Because I believe the world shut down, 5 days after that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There you go.
So how did you manage that? Like, that's insane timing. Like, I mean, there's what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, maybe. But
That's definitely a thing. I pivoted very quickly to Zoom. Well, at first it was supposed to be 2 weeks.
Right.
So I said, okay, guys, we'll just be
can weather it.
pausing for
Yeah.
2 weeks. But in the meantime, I said, let's just do a couple meetings on Zoom. We can do yoga. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Then it turned out to be a long-term situation. So that was a learning curve. I even had somebody come in and set up camera equipment so we could pre-film classes and start to make an on-demand library because nobody could come into the studio.
How common was that in your industry at that time? I mean, were there other studios that were doing that type of?
Not really.
And then do you have like members that are part of the Fitness Collective and they have access to this catalog of workouts?
Yes.
Even to this day?
Even to this day.
Sweet.
Some of those people, I think maybe 10 overall haven't stayed the whole 4 years, but everybody basically that was there for that is still a member.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So how many members do you have now?
We have 52 members
52
now.
members. All right.
Yes.
And what's the kind of like, what does that look like as far as growth? I mean, how does the collective work? I mean, are you kind of capping? Is it something that you want to have a certain amount of folks and you kind of keep it a low number, or do you want to just kind of scale up? How many folks can a studio have? Like, how many
We
members?
still have space. We're growing, but we still have space.
Okay.
It is a very interesting community. They're not really social media people. So I spent a lot of money and time on social media. And I was like, oh, actually, these people are not that. So I need to be out in the community.
Okay.
And so we're still growing. I could take another 50 to 60 members, but I'm looking at another location. I'm looking at a bigger building. I want to incorporate a lot of recovery. I want a whole salt room. I want cryotherapy. I want multiple saunas. We have one infrared sauna right now.
Okay.
And then I also have a massage therapist, stretch therapist. I want multiple therapy rooms. So I want a 3-story building.
Yeah. I mean, how much space do you have right now?
It's only 1,500 square feet.
Yes, you got a lot going on in 1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
You got a whole lot going on. So you shared with me that you taught this morning at 6, you taught at 7:30.
Yeah.
You guys do a lunch class, and then you have afternoon classes as well.
Yep. Luckily, I have 10 instructors.
10 instructors. Okay.
So I don't have to teach it all. Yep.
7 days a week. And then you said you had. So how does it go? Like as far as if you want to do the infrared sauna, or did you say you wanted a salt room, but the massage therapist? Like, are those all scheduled services or?
Yes, and those are outside of the membership.
Okay.
But the members do get a discount.
Okay.
And they can always go in and book. You can even do just a sauna membership if you want.
Okay.
You drop in saunas.
So there's some a la carte options.
Yep, a la carte.
Sweet.
Yep.
So let's say that, Will Ross comes down and I want to join the studio. What does that look like, right? You know what I mean? Like kind of walk us through kind of that and what member benefits are there and, how that works.
Totally. So if you come in, I always suggest doing 2 weeks for $55 because you can take all the classes on the schedule. There's about 33 classes on the schedule.
Okay.
And then you use that, I kind of go through your journey with you, but you use that to decide your availability. What are your goals? Is it flexibility, mobility, longevity, strength conditioning? And then I guide you to those classes. Based on those classes, then you choose your membership.
Okay.
So we are membership based.
Absolutely.
But if you don't want to be a member, I like to say if you're not ready to marry us, that's fine. You don't have to commit. You can do a class pass.
Okay.
So we have 5, 10, and 20 class passes as well.
Awesome. And then if you become a member, how does that? It's like an initiation, then a monthly fee? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so unlimited is $159 a month. And they also get one sauna session. We do an event or a workshop every month. So they also do that for free.
Okay.
And then we have members only happy hours.
Great.
Which are kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then we have the 8 classes a month membership, which is $119. And you just come twice a week. That's the perfect thing for people who also maybe do gym or run or bike or something else.
Okay.
And they also get special discounts on retail, any other events that we have, and priority booking.
Boom. Now you know. All right, cool. So when you go on the website, it pops right in your face, right? I think I want to read it here. More than a studio, our community.
Yeah.
Right? So you're a woman of color, right? Yep. How does that play into the yoga world? I mean, is that common? Is that uncommon? Is that something that has been more or less difficult? How does that play out?
Okay, so it's becoming more common, which I love.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I was kind of an anomaly.
Yeah.
So it has come with a lot of education to the community about the movement, breath to movement,
Okay.
and not necessarily yoga as a religion.
Yes.
It can be a part of a certain type of
Sure,
religion,
sure.
but that's not what we're doing. And so getting the importance of moving, breathing,
Yep.
functioning, paying attention to what's happening in your body, and then using that to do multiple types of movement.
Yes.
So I never say just lift weights. It's not enough.
Right.
You also have to stretch.
Yep.
Pilates is amazing for your core, and pelvic floor therapy and all of those things. I grew up in that area. I literally went to high school 5 minutes away from where my studio is. I bought my first home 7 minutes away from where the studio is. My mom still lives 7 minutes away.
Yeah.
So it is literally my community.
That's awesome.
And so I actually care about what's going on with them in their lives.
Sure.
Not that I'm a psychologist,
Right.
but I can almost read people. If you're coming in, your shoulders are low and you're looking down, your eyes are kind of glazed over. I'm like, okay, so you're not sleeping.
Right.
I'm going to suggest you do this yin class. Or if someone's coming in, they're high energy and all they can, I have to do this, I have to do this. Okay, actually, you need to do Pilates and calm down. Like, you do not need to do more cardio.
It's kind of funny how like a lot of times the opposite is what you need. You know?
Yes.
Which is funny. I deal with a little bit of stuff in my legs, and it's stretching is critical, but I can't only stretch, right? You've got to have movement.
Correct.
And you've got to, I mean, I think the big component that's probably missing in my life is actually some type of like a weight movement or some type of,
Yes.
probably even just stronger cardio than just walking.
Yep.
Just to kind of keep that movement. I played soccer in college and basketball in high school and had plenty of injuries, and now I'm feeling those. You know, I'll turn 40 this year, so that'll be a
Same.
yeah. Are you? You're
Yes.
Same age. Let's go. Rock it. I read a quote. Who was it that said it? I don't even know. I'll butcher it. But it was life begins at 40, right? It's like everything else is research up to this point. So you know, there's a lot of. I've had some plenty of research, so I'm ready to start living. So let's jump back to your community really quick. What type of feedback have you gotten from those folks that have come in? What is it that, I mean, I'm kind of leading you here to what for me would probably be an encouraging, you know, just kind of that pride in what, you know, you've been able to build with these others.
You.
But what is that kind of community feedback you've gotten, and kind of what's that left you with?
Oh, we get really good feedback, actually, which is why our members usually, it's like if you join the family, it's a family. Like you're there to stay. I've had women come and tell me about uterine prolapse being rectified, pelvic floors being rectified. They come in thinking, I just want to lose this gut, and not realizing what they're doing is holding cortisol from stress of doing all the things for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so the moment that they can actually drop all the titles and just focus on their health for a moment, then their body starts to change and they start to love themselves a little more, which is beautiful. I've gotten a lot of feedback about feeling more at peace, sleeping better, choosing better eating habits just based on intuition. So I don't even subscribe to keto versus Atkins or any of the things. I tell people to eat intuitively. You don't have to be a vegan, but there may be some days that you don't want meat.
Right.
So listen to your body. And why are you eating? Are you eating sadness? Or are you eating because you're hungry? And are you really hungry? Or are you thirsty? Do you need water?
Yeah.
And then for people who are over 40, the importance of having the weights and conditioning for osteogenesis and continuing to have strong bones. So even that part is education. And I feel better. My mom is, I'm not going to say, but she's level 7. We'll say
49.
that. She's, plus 30. But she works out literally every day except for Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And then we've got like the gamut. So I have some 20-year-olds all the way up to 60, 70, 80.
So I think people that are kind of in tune, especially from that physical side of things, how that lines up with your mind, right? And that mental health and that even like negative self-talk and just kind of having pride in your own self and seeing those changes and like taking that on. Those are empowering things, right? And so, I mean, those are things that you're changing folks' lives, their outlooks, their presence in their day, which is huge. So I'm sure they're grateful for it. I love hearing about it.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit more about you, right? So you're busy. You're busy. You're doing all sorts of stuff. You said you're doing a lot of the social, right? So you're out there. You're doing a lot of the marketing, building the brand. What does that process look for you? I mean, how do you get out there? How are you getting yourself in front of your target audience, if you will?
Right. So it's multi-dimensional. I'm going to say that word because there are 3 different arms to the business.
Yep.
and I also have 2 other businesses. So I have a yoga school,
Okay.
and I also work for Booty Yoga,
Okay.
BUTI, which means the cure to something hidden
Okay.
and not kept secret.
Yeah.
So there's all that. I'm over that training program and then the studio. So I am walking around to different businesses in our area. So we have a partnership with Publix, a partnership with Starbucks, Subway, and then literally in the neighborhoods, getting in front of our HOAs, offering neighborhood discounts,
great-
the apartments that are nearby,
great
and the
approach.
school. We partner with the school.
I forgot. I want to make sure that. So when we talked earlier, this
Yes.
was one of those things that you were talking about community, and it did not cross my mind. And then it's like the more you know, like the rainy rainbow kind of thing. But tell us about the marching band.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we actually go in and do the stretches for the marching band. And I was so honored for that because I started working with the basketball team and the football team. They brought us in for yoga at 6 a.m. And then the marching band director was like, well, I feel like we need that too. I was like, absolutely you do.
100%.
You guys are carrying these heavy machines or instruments.
Yeah, hey, they're
They are
machines.
machines.
Yeah, they are.
And you have to march across the field in the heat, and you got to breathe, and you got to stay in sync and play this instrument. So I actually never thought about that.
I didn't either until you said it, and then like, of course they need to. I mean, there's some athleticism out there in some of the halftime shows that I've seen, and so I mean, and
Yes.
even just the heat of Georgia, let alone carrying around some of these larger instruments for sure. So I was one of those like aha moments, like of course they do. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all you high school marching band, what would you be? Directors? Okay. You need to reach out to the Fitness Collective.
Yeah,
May not be
please
Tiffany,
do.
but she may be able to train somebody to come up there and help you guys. Because that
would.
seems like it's just something that should be standard. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're out there practicing in the afternoons, like you got to stretch, you
They
got
are.
to hydrate. I mean, I wonder if I'm sure there's issues with that in Georgia at this time of year. I mean, it's just so warm.
Yes. Actually, one of them had a concussion. And because I also do neuromyofascial therapy, I was able to treat her separately, but she was able to return back to practice within 3 weeks.
All right. That's awesome. I was an athlete, and not that I had any issues with band. That's one of the things I missed out on. I feel like I didn't learn to play an instrument, but that you don't think about the physical side and the physical toll that it takes out on your body. Everybody needs a little mental health, a little stretching, a little,
Yes.
Encouragement.
Thank you.
So, what do you do for fun?
Oh, I read.
Okay. All right. Nice. What type
That
of
sounds
reading?
so boring. So
That's not
I like
boring.
to read about neuroscience
Okay.
and neurogenesis.
That's boring. No, I'm kidding.
Is it
no,
boring?
I'm just kidding. No, it's not at all.
I am a history buff. My dad is my bio dad is a retired colonel from the Army.
Okay.
So he's always like drilled in things. But now I'm looking even at biblical history and other sacred text history.
It's wild.
Because, there are so many similarities. And I feel like we find ways to divide ourselves when really we're more similar than we think.
We could go on all day on this one. I'm with you on that. Like I think there's a lot of beauty in what are the bases of many religions, and there's so many similarities. And it's one of those things that people do for whatever reason find themselves trying to find the difference versus like look at the thousands of examples of similarities here versus these small little factors. And it's just appreciate those small factors as the differences that make us all different, but at the same time appreciate that person that they are strong enough to go on that line and like I want to hear about it. I'm not trying to change somebody. I just want to understand what your views are. I think it's a much healthier way to kind of it rounds out my view instead of just being so down the
Same.
tunnel.
If we listened more, we could learn so much about people and ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think something that I saw the other day, and it was like, stop reading the room, read yourself, right? And it makes all the difference in the world. A lot of times it's the attitude that I come in with versus like, somebody pulls in front of me in traffic. Like, I've had my moments where I lose it, but then you kind of take that step back and say, they're not thinking about me. They're thinking about their day, where they're going. And if I give them that energy, that's just lost energy on my side. It's nothing off their back. So
They don't even know.
that's it. They don't even know. So it's not worth it. I love
There's
it.
one other thing I do for fun,
Yeah.
and that's follow my son around.
Okay.
He likes to say, you need to get help for your crippling addiction.
So
to him.
What is that? Go a little deeper in detail with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Like maybe what it is that you do that annoys him, or what it is that you love about,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were together yesterday, and I literally just reached out and gave him a hug and a kiss, and he was like, "What is wrong with you?" But he is a martial artist,
Okay.
and he is in AP program, so he's also super smart,
Very
super
smart.
bright. And I love having conversations with him.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just try to go sit with him and talk, and
Okay.
he's like, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to participate."
Come on. That's
But
awesome.
he's working on his second degree black belt.
Wow.
So he's also practicing with jujitsu. So I will sit for 3 hours and watch him practice jujitsu. Sometimes still on the computer and working,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm near him,
Yeah,
I feel
multitasking.
really, really good.
That's important. I mean, family's important, and I'm sure that he appreciates that support, even if he's not always verbalizing it. It's those are those kind of things you look back on, and you appreciate them for what they are much later in life,
Yeah.
instead of in that moment. But I know that that's had a major positive impact on him too. I mean, it sounds like he's very successful. So you had mentioned that he's into some the studio kind of podcast,
Yeah.
the tech side of things.
Yeah, he
LED
works
screen
for
was
an
something I heard.
AV company.
Okay.
So audio
15 years
visual.
old, working. All right, nice.
Yeah, he'll set up screens and projectors and mics and speakers. He's working on an LED wall, which is a bunch of little squares that, when they're put together, look like 100 thing. What do you call it? Square
I
foot
think
TV?
it's like the inches, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
100-inch TV.
Yeah. And
Or
so
bigger.
it basically can cast one image across multiple screens.
Yes.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's
He's
awesome.
very cool. He wants to be an engineer. He thinks he wants to go to the Air Force. So
Okay.
all the things that he says, I try to channel his energy positively into those
Absolutely.
directions so that he
Yep.
can really explore them.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Now's the time to explore too.
Mm-hmm.
15. That's great. So we're kind of getting towards the end of our conversation. I wish
Okay.
we did have a little bit longer because I feel like there's a lot to talk about. Tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, how can our community, Burn the Ship community, YouTube community, the Atlanta community in general, help you, help those that are, members of your studio, those that are teachers at your studio? What is it? Is there anything that we can do? I mean, is it spread awareness? Is it, how can we help?
I would love to spread awareness if you all would do that. We also have a girls group. It's called Aligned Ascension to Womanhood. So
Okay.
if anybody is interested in sponsoring a young lady, we meet every Wednesday. We feed them. We do life skill things, conversations, etc. We also have our class. Some of our classes are live on demand
Okay.
or live online. So the teacher's teaching in person. You could be in the studio, but you could also be online. So maybe
So, like,
people would like to
streaming.
come and take
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
class. Yeah.
Streaming
And
it.
experience the fitness
Absolutely.
collective. We are in South Fulton, Georgia.
In South Fulton, and I'll get the links from you for the Align.
Okay.
And we can post this in there. Cool. And then you also, I'm assuming, we'll put a link to your website or the live classes. That'll be in there as well. Social media.
Yes, on Instagram at fitnesscollective_ATL.
_ATL. Tiffany, I appreciate your time here. Any closing statements, thoughts, anything you want to share?
No, just thank you for having me.
course.
I love to talk about life, love, and health. So
Absolutely. Well,
thank
reach
you.
out to Tiffany. You can tell she's got a lot of energy, and she's also got some great things to say. I'm excited to have a little bit deeper conversation later on today as well.
Thank you.
Again, this is Burn the Ship. Thank you for your time, Tiffany. Thank you for driving up here. I really do appreciate it.
Okay.
That's a wrap. Thank you.